What is up, YouTube? Alright, so this is going to be video 2 of the Batrium install, and today is just going to be wires. So with your kit, you should have gotten, depending on which kit you got, I got the 14 LongMon kit, so Actually, I think I got 15 of these. So we're going to be installing these guys today, and we're going to figure out exactly how we're going to wire them and where all the wires are going to go. And if you want to make your wires look nice and fancy, like this, with the little sleeving on it, I'll show you how to do that as well. Alright, so let's go over to the power rack and take a look. Alright, so now we need to figure out how we're going to put these guys on those guys. And since my power wall is pretty much different than everybody else's because I'm using a server rack and I have the slide out drawers, I would like to be able to slide out a drawer without unhooking the LongMons or really any of the Batrium stuff. So in order to get from one drawer to the next, I'm going to have to extend the yellow and blue wires. In the installation of these, it says you're allowed to go up to 13 feet or 4 meters if you live in a place that uses meters. But I don't. I live in the United States, so we use feet. So it's 13 feet. Alright, so I have a pretty cool idea which I'm going to be showing you an example of. I don't have all of the parts yet for going from one drawer to the next, but I'll show you that here in a second. I'll slide out a drawer and we'll just kind of do like a quick mock-up on the LongMons up here just to see what it would look like and go from there. Alright, so I'm going to lightly put these into the LongMons. I'm not going to put them in all the way just because it's not needed right now, but make sure your positive and negative wires don't touch anything. So I'm just going to kind of shove them in here for a second. Maybe. Uh-oh. Maybe like right there. Alright, so that's pretty much all you have to do. The directions do tell you to hook up the positive and negative wires first before you hook up any of the daisy chains to anything. So we're not going to do that quite yet. We just wanted to see what it looked like, and this is really all you have to do. If you don't want to do anything fancy to the wires, this is pretty much it. And if all of your packs were on a wall or all right next to each other, that's pretty much it. You just go continually over to the next one. But since mine's a little different, I have the slide out drawers. What I'm hoping for is to never unhook them unless I have to physically remove a pack from the system. So I'm going to have to extend the yellow and blue wire to go from one drawer to the next. I'm probably going to use Ethernet cord because it's real close to the same size of this. I believe this is 26 gauge. 26, alright, there it is. And I believe Ethernet cord is around 24 gauge, so it should be fine with that. They tell you to kind of stick with the same gauge because in the event of some sort of catastrophe, these wires will act like a fuse and then break apart. Alright, so in order for me to go from this LongMon down to the next drawer to the next LongMon in the daisy chain, I'm going to pretend like the yellow and blue wires are already extended. We'll pretend it's hooked up here. I'm going to run the wires down the side of the pack here, and then I'm going to run it along the inner edge of the drawer right here. And then there is a little slot that I'm going to be taking the wires through, and I'm going to go underneath the drawer. Alright, this is a drag link. It is not the one I'll be using in the power wall. I have some on order. They're just not here yet, so this is just going to be an example. I have the wires coming from the shelf above that would be simulated, hooked up to the LongMon from that pack up there. The wire travels along this entire drag link and connects to the drawer down on this end. So this will allow me to keep all of the LongMons in their daisy chain hooked up, and I shouldn't have to unhook anything. This is held up by a magnet, but I'm going to try to do an example. So hopefully it doesn't fall. Is that cool or what? Well, I think it's cool. That's what I'm going to be doing. By the time I get all the wiring done, they should be here. All right, so if you want to make your wires look nice and fancy like this, I'll show you how to do it. All right, so what you see here is the standard wires with nothing on them, and then I have the example right up here. I am using the gray nylon braided sleeves. I got 30 feet from eBay, and I'll put a link down below. I accidentally ordered 1/8 inch. I was trying to order 1/4 inch. I think I had too many screens open while I was comparing and happened to select 1/8 inch. I originally planned for 1/4 inch because I wanted to get around the yellow and blue wire plug here. The 1/8 inch, this stuff, it does not expand as much as you would think to fit around the data cable. So in order for this to work, it is a lot more work, but I'll tell you what, I am actually really glad that I got this 1/8 inch stuff because it is really tight around the wires. It just gives it an awesome look. So I'm just really glad I got the 1/8 inch stuff. If you didn't want it to be that much work, I would probably get the 1/4 inch stuff, and it should go right around this plug. Okay, so if you want to do it the way that I'm doing it, which is a lot more work, then what you're going to need to do is, the normal length of these is about 10 1/4 inches long. I have found that if you cut it around 12 to 12 3/4, it'll be a perfect fit. Your length for the battery wires might be a little bit different, but I went with 4.5 inches. Alright, so in order to get this nice clean look, we got to do a little bit of surgery. Again, I warn you, it is a lot more work, but in my opinion, it's worth it. The first thing you have to do with this yellow and blue wire plug is remove the glue that was perfectly put on the clips. I'll zoom into this here in just a minute, but what I'm going to do is just show you real quick so you can see what I'm doing, and then I'll zoom into it so you can see exactly what I did. You don't have to do it, but I would recommend doing it. Is the blue wire, I would put just a little tiny black mark on here just so you know that the blue wire goes back into this side of the connector. I use an X-Acto knife for this, and the reason I do that is because the point on these are really thin, and it allows you to get just underneath the little plastic clip here to lift it up slightly. And Jaren is probably cringing at this very moment.
No, don't do that.
Because he spent a lot of time and money and effort to make all these wires and glue them all in, and you're going to go in there and ruin it. Sorry Jaren, I am doing it. So I lifted up the little plastic clip and the wire will come right out. And I do the same thing on this side, as I give it just a little bend and I can pull the wire right out. So don't lose this guy, you're going to need him later. Alright, so here's the close-up of the yellow and blue wire clip, but this right here is the clip that you bend up just slightly. Okay, so I bent it up a little bit. So here is the clip. I'm going to try to grab onto it with my fingers, and sorry about my fingers being in the way, but you just pull it right out. And you can see on the edge of that metal clip right there, there's a little prong that sticks up. That's why we're bending the plastic clip up just a little bit to clear that little prong. Alright, so let's say we're done and we already have all the sleeving on the wires. You just reverse the process. There we go. Slide it back in and then use your fingernail or a flathead screwdriver and push the plastic back down. And that is it. Now that we have the plastic clip off there, I'll show you how to get these wires into that right there. Alright, so the first thing you're going to need is some tape. It really doesn't matter what kind of tape it is. I just have an abundance of this because it's from Harbor Freight and you get like 10 rolls for $2 or $3. Put it roughly halfway through. I lay it flat next, and then I grab a piece of coat hanger. This is, I don't know, probably 8 inches long. And I set that down right on the end of the wires, and then I tape it up. And then you go ahead and put it inside the sleeve here. And then once you get so far it's a little bendy, you hold the other end so it will expand. And then get your tape off of there. And voila. That took what, 10-15 seconds? Alright, now we can insert the wires back into the clip. Push back down on the plastic clips that keep the wires in there. And you can already see they're in there nice and tight, but we are going to re-hot glue this. And what I usually like to do is slide the sleeving right up to the glue, not all the way up to the plastic clip, but just touching the glue. And there you go, nice sleeving over the wires, and it looks great. Alright, so what I do next for the positive and negative wires here, yours may vary of course. And I cut off the positive and negative terminals that he so nicely soldered on there. Sorry, I gotta cut it off. And then I remove just a little bit of the insulation and re-tin the wires because I plan to solder these wires directly to the bus bars. Twist these two wires together, kind of bend them a little bit, and it makes it a little easier to fish these wires through here. Alright, the very next and last step to complete this is heat shrink. This is just ordinary 1/4 inch black heat shrink. I guess you could use any color you want. And I cut off a piece that is about 3/4 of an inch. Of course you could do any size you want. Alright, last step for the heat shrink is, you guessed it, over both wires for mine. You could probably do these individually if you wanted to. I like to bring mine right up to the edge there, almost covering the edge if I can. And I do the positive and negative wires last. And you could use a heat gun, a lighter, a torch, whatever you want to use. I will be using a rework station hot air gun. And now I do the positive and negative wires here. And I'm going to use this one as my template so I can try to make them all the exact same, if possible, just because I'm OCD like that, I guess. And there you go, a completed Batrium BMS wire. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and start doing all the rest. Alright, so I just did the rest off of camera because there's just a lot of wiring to cover with the sleeving. So yeah, alright, so the next thing, I'm going to go over to the batteries and just kind of put some on there, and then we're going to figure out how exactly we're going to go down to each drawer. And I got the drag links, so I can do all this right now too. Alright, so let's go over there. Alright, we'll just do a quick little test fit here. Alright, so you can see how kind of clean each one of these are coming out right here. There's two different ways to wire this. Now, this would be option one, which the way I'm going to be doing it. Or you can take the data cables and swing it over to this side, which I am not going to do because you just have too many wires overlapping each other. So if you do it the other way, they kind of lay down and they're a little cleaner right here. So that is the way I will be doing it. Alright, so this is going to be pack 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to try to keep that same order along each shelf. And that's how I'm used to seeing my packs, and that's how I want to see it in the software. So on this side, I just put the small piece on here for right now because I'm going to have to extend this wire. So if I put this guy here, I'm going to lay down on the side of the battery pack and then the side of the drawer, and I'm going to kind of come across this edge, and then I'm going to come straight along the front edge, and I'm going to come over to this corner, and then I'm going to kind of like wrap around underneath and go down to the next drawer. And of course I'll do that with the drag chain. And let me open up the next drawer and I'll show you why. Alright, so drawer 2, same thing, it goes 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I could technically drop down from the first drawer on this side and then come across the LongMons this way, but if I do that, then I start doing the flippy thing where too many wires are kind of crisscrossing each other, so I don't want to do that. So that's why I'm coming across the front of the shelf and then dropping down over here, and then I can loop back up to this guy right here and then continue the chain going around. And then I'll be going off the side of this battery pack and then down the front of this drawer, and then I'll go back down underneath just like the first drawer. That's my plan of how I'm going to do this, so I just need to do like a quick mock-up to figure out how much wire I need to extend from this LongMon to that LongMon up there. Alright, so I grabbed one of the drag chains and stuffed a Ethernet wire through the center of it, and this is what we're going to use to kind of do a mock-up. Alright, if I can bring this guy roughly around here. I think I like that length down here, and hopefully we can get him to stay there. I'm going to try to put a little pinch. I'm going to pinch it off here so it won't move too much, hopefully. And I'll just bring him up around underneath here. Alright, so this one's super close actually. Oh, I got real close on that one. So I'm just going to add probably like an inch or two on the end of this. Alright, I'm going to pull this wire back out and then measure it. And then I'll show you how to cut and extend one of these, the average Joe way to do it. This is 77 inches. I think I'm just going to bring it right up to 80, so almost 7 feet. Before I do anything, I did cut 80 inches of the Ethernet cord. First thing I'm going to do actually is sleeve it first, and there's probably not a really good way to do this since it's so long. I'm going to try with this, but I don't know how well it'll work since it's so long, so I'll give it a try. Or maybe you know a better way to do it. If you do, do it. I hope I have enough left. Yes, I am wearing pajama pants. Alright, so I've got like a foot left in here, so that should be plenty for now. I'm going to go ahead and unwind a little bit of this on the end here. And now what we're going to do is extend these wires, and the normal person would just go ahead and cut these right down the center like that. I mean, you can do that, it's fine, but if you do, just keep in mind if you either solder and heat shrink these, or if you just use the butt connectors, both butt connectors are in the exact same spot, so you're going to need some thicker sleeving to go around all that. The correct way to do a wire loom is you cut one wire off to one side and you cut the other wire on the other side. And that way either the heat shrink or the butt connectors are kind of staggered and you don't have a big clump basically in one spot. So that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and cut the yellow one, I don't know, like right there, and I'm going to cut the blue one only right there. So now they're both staggered. Okay, I'm going to set this guy off to the side and we'll start with this one. And of course, you have to remember which wire is what. So obviously I'm going to go blue to blue, and then the blue with the white stripe I'm going to add to the yellow. So I'm going to do this wire first only, and then we'll work on the second one. Do not forget to put your heat shrink, or if you're doing the butt connectors, go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go ahead and solder and heat shrink them. So I'm gonna put the heat shrink on it now so I don't forget. Now, there's two different ways to solder this, the correct way and the incorrect way. The incorrect way is to just grab both of them and start twisting them together like that. The correct way to do it is to twist the wires together like so. Okay, so that is the proper way to twist the wires together. Next we're going to solder them. So do it like this. Now we can do the other wire. The reason you do one of these at a time, because if you start cutting wires, you're gonna mess up. So do one at a time. Alright, now you know exactly where to cut your wire. And there you go. See, now if you put two butt connectors or solder these in the exact same spot, you would have a nice big clump there. And this is nice and neat and the proper way to resolder some wires or extend some wires. So I'm gonna extend the sleeving over all of this. And now we can heat shrink the end here. And I hold the heat shrink with my thumb or a finger just so it doesn't try to go back, because I want to try to get it as close to the little connector as I can. There we go. Alright, so now that this is done, make sure it's tight going back the other way. I got the end of it right about here. I'm just going to go maybe like a ½ inch past the connector. How about that? We'll just cut it with the soldering iron. And that's good because it kind of melted both ends. Kind of what we want. So I am going to shove it this way a little bit so we'll have room to work on the wires. Alright, same thing, one wire at a time. And you always do the shortest wire first, because if you do the long one right on the end, you got that whole gap right there. You see what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? So you always do the short one first. Don't forget your heat shrink. Alright, I did get a little bit too much, so I'm going to cut it off with the scissors. Alright, now let's heat shrink this side. Alright, there we go. We have one completed extension cable. Extension cord? I don't know. We have one extension wire complete. Alright, so I'm gonna do the next ones off camera and then I'll come back on. Boom! Alright, so now it's time to install all the wiring we just made. This is pretty exciting stuff, I might say. So I am just going to kind of lightly plug it in again, just so I can figure out where I'm going to put the power wires. I want to leave a little bit of wiggle room just in case I need to unhook this wire. So I'm probably going to tuck it down in and maybe just go right to a previous solder joint, and I'll poke the positive side out over here and solder directly to one of where the fuses go to on the bus bar. Alright, so before you actually solder the positive and negative wires on, you got to make sure it is unplugged. Now I know you can totally see the other side, but slide her right in and go to an existing fuse. Alright, we can, I think, hook him up just to see if the blinky lights turn on here. Okay, they do. You see him on? Alright, so I am going to unplug him so he doesn't keep on bypassing. And I'll grab the next pack and we'll continue soldering on the LongMons. Alright, now that we have all of those attached to the packs, it's time to do the drag links. So let's go figure that out real quick. Alright, so I found some little tiny screws and they are a perfect fit for this. Alright, let's go do it. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is just kind of figure out exactly where this is going to sit. I'm going to try to get it pretty close up here. I do want to leave some room for the wire to loop back around over to the first pack. Alright, well, to keep them consistent, I'm just going to use some chapstick. I'll just set the chapstick right there, and I'm going to cut out a little bit of this rubber mat that I have down here, maybe up to there. Just broke it. I hope I have another bit. Alright, well, for this one right here, I'm not going to be drilling into the bottom of the UPS or anything like that. I would use double stick tape, but I don't have any, so I'm just going to use hot glue and see how well that works. If it doesn't work, then I'll use something different. So I'm just going to glue that next. So I'm probably going to have the Watchman supervisor and expansion board sitting on this shelf for now. This shelf isn't permanent. It's going to be pulled out whenever I get more drawers to do more packs, but that's going to be a little while. So I'm just going to throw these guys down here, and I'm just going to glue the other drag chain right over here. Alright, now all the drag chains are in. I can start putting in the longer LongMon wires. So I left these packs out just for that reason, so I could get to this stuff over here. I'm gonna, I guess, start at the top and shove the wires through the drag chain. That's actually a pretty good fit right there. I like it. I just have to figure out a way to secure the wire up here on the front of the drawer. Ooh! I wonder if I could put zip tie through the hole. There's a little screw hole right here. I might be able to loop the zip tie through there. Let me grab one real quick. Not sure if this will work very well, but we'll give it a shot. I like it. That's gonna work out great. I'll zoom into that. Alright, so you can see the wire in there. It looks pretty damn good. It's nice and tight. It's not gonna be pulled on anywhere, and I've got 3 holes up here that I could put zip ties through. So I think I'm gonna stick with this for right now. Alright, so I have one data cable up here, and this one's going to go through this, and it's going to come out around the top, and I'm going to go behind the, whatever you call this, rack mounting thingy. I'm going to drop down on the inside and go straight down to the LongMon. And this one we don't actually need the power wires, so I will probably just put some heat shrink over these. You can actually cut it off at the connector down here, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it as is because maybe I want to change something later on. Alright, so I'm going to fish this guy through. That just works pretty slick now, doesn't it? I'm going to be zip tying it back there along this inside. I know you can't really see it because the lighting sucks, but basically there's a bunch of holes just like this right here around the corner on the inside, and I'm going to be zip tying this inside there so it'd be kind of out of sight and it shouldn't get caught on anything. Alright, so that's what I'm going to do next, and I'm going to drop it straight down. Alrighty, I am going to disconnect all of the wiring and call it a day because this video is super long and I'm sure you guys are tired of watching. Alrighty YouTube, that is a long video, and can you believe I did it all in one day? Alright, so if you did make it through the entire video, congratulations, but if you skipped around, that's cool too, because holy crap, it's like rewatching a live stream, which I do occasionally. I kind of do it all the time. Alright, so there was obviously a lot of work for me to do in order to get my little mini server rack kind of how I wanted it. Yeah. There's a crap ton that I did not include in this video. Of course, I didn't record all of the drilling of the 2 holes in each shelf, but luckily, I got the freaking drill bit breaking. God, I'm such a dumbass because as I'm drilling it, I could just see it breaking, and then of course I broke it, but it wasn't a big deal. I did have some more drill bits, so that was good. Yeah, re-sleeving is the tough part, so if you're not into doing what I did the entire time, get the bigger stuff and it'll slide right over everything. I don't know, it's super easy to hook up, it really is. Just make sure all your LongMons are disconnected. You hook up the battery positive and negative wires first, and then you hook up the 2-pin blue and yellow connector, then you hook up the 4-pin connector, and you're good to go. Well, of course, you gotta hook it up to the LongMon, which we're not doing in this video. I repeat, we're not doing it in this video because it's too long. Alright, so the very next video is going to be the shunt because I did get that. Hopefully it doesn't take as long as this video because it really shouldn't. And then depending on how long that video is, I might get into hooking up the power wires to the LongMon so we can wrap all the wiring up into one video and get it hooked up. Oh, speaking of wiring, it is recommended that if you have to extend any of the wiring, you should use twisted pair, similar to what I did with the Ethernet wire. If you don't have anything that's twisted, basically just twist the wires together, because what that does is it helps cut down on any sort of interference. I'm not exactly sure what interference, but that's what it does. Maybe it's more like emissions, you know, from other electronics. It might mess with some of this stuff. So twist the wires and make sure you use roughly the same size. I'm sure I'm forgetting all sorts of stuff, but if you have a question, just put the comment down below and I'll try to answer it as best as I can. If I can't, I will get you the answer somehow. Alright, so I will list all the links down below, including the Batrium stuff and all of the stuff that I bought basically for this project. So if anybody else does have a server rack that has slide out drawers and want to kind of tackle what I did, I'll list all those down below. Alright, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. I got the 14 kits. Maybe one's just an extra, just in case you mess one up. All right, so obviously, and I have a really cool idea. And if all of your pack could be 28. I can't find a number on there, of course. Technically, in the event of a catastrophe, I guess. And I'm gonna go across the bottom of this drawer, and you can't even see it. All right, so what I'm gonna do, and lightly insert these. My cat is running around like crazy, and make sure, but I, and oh hi, and here and actually that one wasn't in there very well, which kind of works out in our favor. Oh, missed it. All right, now that we have the, let me get those twisted back up here. Oh, it's beep beep beep. My braids, and then it is. All right, here is a close-up of the red and blue. And then use your fingernail or something, and push. And I'll the 2 clumps of heat shrink, whatever, to wire a loom. That's what we do at work, at least. The rod's in there. I don't know. I guess I didn't really think about that. Look at that. I forgot the heat shrink. Why did you let me forget? Oh crap. And then once it's soldered, I'll just kind of shove it in there, I guess. Alright, I went ahead. Whoops, you're kind of close, aren't you? And yeah. And I would sticky tape it. And you can't see shit up there because of my hand. But I wonder if I could just shove it through, like fish it through, or I'll try it real quick. And we'll see how it goes. Alright, so this is the red and blue, whatever you call this, the battery terminal clippy here. It's like something flying around. And then alright, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. What else? But the next stuff, I don't know. I guess I need to quit talking. Just tell me to shut up, Joe, and I'll hit the button. All right? Okay, bye. See you later.